Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the Hartford Regionals that just took place over the past weekend, and just going over some of the key results and takeaways, and just some interesting trends that we saw. You know how we do this, right? We always recap some of these regionals, and we always just give some insight as to what could happen moving forward, because NAIC is coming up, right? And we still have a couple more regionals like Fresno. And we'll see how the meta, gets reflected in some of those regionals as well, right? So, moving forward, now what we're gonna do is take a look at actually the winning team and also the second place team, and just see, just what exactly transpired. So the winner was, TSL Tang, Shi Liangtang, right? He took first place, and there was the whole meme, there must always be a Tang on top, right? So not Justin, he was out doing other things, but today we had another Tang on top. All right, so let's take a look at his team. Okay, and it's a pretty standard core here with Dragonite, Fluttermane, King Gambit. We've seen this Dragon Fairy Steel combination before. It's very, very strong, especially with the Choice Band Dragonite just being able to put on a lot of pressure, especially with the Qianpao now also on the team. We already know what Dragonite Qianpao can do, especially with Choice Band, Terra Normal, Extreme Speed Shenanigans. But now you have Aqua Jet on this Dragonite, which is actually pretty interesting. I saw this a little bit in the previous regionals. Some Dragonite sets did run this with Choice Band. With Aqua Jet and also Qianpao on the field, I feel like you have a pretty good chance to KO those Chi-Yus, which is great. Sometimes you can't really extreme speed those things because it's not enough to kill, and if they Terra Ghost, then you're in trouble. But Aqua Jet can actually hit the Ghost types, and if they don't terrestrialize, then Choice Band Aqua Jet is able to do a lot of damage and actually just pick up the Chi-Yu if anything, especially if you're running like Adamant 252 Dragonite. So that's also really nice. Ground coverage is great as well, especially when you're dealing with like Terra Poison matchups with like Terra Poison Excalibur, Terra Poison Wo-Chien, Terra Poison Tinglu. So really, really nice here. And then of course Outrage just does so much damage, especially with Choice Band and Qianpao on the field. Really, really nice here. And then of course Choice Specs Fluttermane along with Iron Bundle, Booster Energy. Again, this is for like potential speed mirrors, where maybe the opposing Fluttermane might be faster than your own Fluttermane, so then you can just slow it down with your own Iron Bundle with the Icy Wind, and then just be able to KO with the your own Fluttermane, since you're able to outspeed theirs, right? Arcanine, relatively standard here, safety goggles with the Terra Grass option as well. Okay, so that's cool. Well, I mean, that also still makes sense. You might say, well, why are we doubling up on the Amoonguss immunity? Well, think about it. Arcanine's a fire type. You're weak to ground stuff, so the grass coverage is still very much appreciated, and then you still get your Dragon Fairy Steel Fire Water Grass core along with this kind of set here. So if you're able to just resist the Garchomp or the Great Tusk Earthquakes or the Tinglu Earthquakes / Stomping Tantrums, the Arcanine can extend its longevity and stay on the field and either click Will-O-Wisp or click Extreme Speed for a little bit longer, right? And you might even consider like maybe an Adamant set here. I don't know what Tang here was running in terms of his EV spread, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Arcanine was in fact an Adamant natured one. I was watching some of his games on the stream. I don't know for a fact still if it was Adamant or Jolly, but maybe that's something that someone else might know. So if you do know, feel free to comment and then give me some insight. And this Qianpao is relatively standard here with Focus Sash, Protect Set with Ice Spinner. And then here it's Sacred Sword. So that's also really nice. It's great into Dondozo stuff. Of course, you're able to just ignore those defense boosts. But overall, Qianpao, great into King Gambit, an opposing King Gambit, might you add. It's great into itself because the fighting coverage is great against Ice Dark, 4 times weak. Also pretty good into Iron Bundle, especially. So I feel like this is a really, really solid, consistent balance kind of team. Dragonite balance with Qianpao here is really nice. And then second place team, Rain. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about Rain later on in the video and also in another video, because Rain did, I believe, did very well in this regional, but also in the Malmo regional. So that was also really nice to see. And I always feel like, especially going back to like regulation A or B, not A, but actually B, that if you're gonna run a Rain team, right, with the Amoonguss, the Pelipper, and then not the Palafin, but here is now an Azumarill. Either way, imagine the Palafin, that slot. I feel like you always have to follow the template and go with Iron Hands here, because if you think about it, now that Iron Bundle is back in full swing, this core, kind of suffers a little bit against the Iron Bundle, just because Freeze Dry you know, it just hurts so much. Okay, and then now if you have the Iron Hands, that gives you a little bit better matchup into that regard, right? And Terra Grass is also pretty good in the rain, just because you're able to resist the fire type damage. So if Gholdengo with Choice Scarf can also get some speed, you know, well, actually, that's actually why it has Choice Scarf, because there's no Tailwind here on this Pelipper. So it actually has Wide Guard along with Protect, so that's okay. I would imagine, you know, some of the spread damage going around with, you know, the Earthquake, the Dazzling Gleam shenanigans. So, you know, expected. Okay, and then this Fluttermane had Trick Room, which is actually pretty cool because you have an Amoonguss, you have an Azumarill, and you have an Iron Hands here. So sometimes, you know, Aqua Jet is not dealing enough damage, and you really want to go first and deal more damage with like Liquidation or Play Rough. So with the Trick Room, you're able to just do that and not have to force yourself to click Aqua Jet just to make yourself go first. So really cool Rain Trick Room team. You might see this more going forward. So it was really nice to see in this regional. So shout outs to Ryan. Second place finish is actually really nice and really good. But all 4 weathers did well, which will be our next topic in the video. So stay tuned here. So let's keep on going. Okay, so like we said, all weathers actually did relatively well in this tour. So which is good to see. Again, we kind of saw that also in Portland, where there were multiple teams of all 4 weathers, you know, within top cut or at least day 2 cut. And you kind of saw that again here. But a couple of changes, right? So, but let's talk about all of those weather teams first. So again, we mentioned about Ryan's team with the Choice Scarf, Gholdengo, and the Azumarill Life Orb set with the Assault Vest Iron Hands. That much we knew, and of course it was Trick Room Fluttermane. So really nice adaptation here to take advantage. We ran Trick Room Fluttermane back in the first beginnings of the Paradox format, and I really liked it. Right, with Fluttermane Trick Room with Amoonguss and Iron Hands was actually really nice. Then here's another rain team with Dreadnought, which we kind of saw also a little bit last time with Dondozo, but this time it's on a little bit more of a standard core with Dragonite Tinglu, which does have Earthquake, so you have 2 targets where you can Earthquake next to, and then from there you have an Intimidate Mon. The Water Tauros in the rain can do considerable damage here, and of course the Chien-Pao also makes it so that you don't have to rely on rain to do some damage here. You can lead the Pelipper and then swap in the Chien-Pao, so this way the Dreadnought not only has the Swift Swim boost along with Life Orb, but now also can do more damage with the Chien-Pao on the field. Same with Dragonite Chien-Pao. We already know that combination, as well as the Water Tauros. And basically everything here is physical except for the Pelipper, right? Which also has Tailwind here. So, and another Aqua Jet Dragonite here. So that's also good to see. Then the Sand team, I keep seeing the Sand team, no matter just this regional, but like other online tours in general, it's always like Lycanroc, Tyranitar, and then Indeedee Armorage, right? And Armorage kind of fell this format, but you still always see it on this Sand team because it has like 3 modes. You have Indeedee, Armorage, you have Tyranitar, Lycanroc, and then you have Dondozo, Tatsugiri. So this is like, I don't know, one of those Regulation A teams. So shout outs to Ben Grism for running it like this. But again, this does have Trick Room on the Armorage, and then the Lycanroc, Tyranitar gives you that hyper offensive Sand mode with Sand Rush. And of course, Dondozo just gives you another big option in the back with Terra Blast, Terra Grass, again, you know, for the Palafin matchups, but also other water type matchups in general. This one has Rest Lumberry, so that's pretty cool. And this Indeedee also has Trick Room along with the Armorage, right? Ryan here, same concept again. Lycanroc, Tyranitar with Indeedee Armorage. Again, with the Indeedee having Trick Room access this time, but no Dondozo Tatsugiri. It's instead Annihilate with Assault Vest. And it has U-Turn Thunder Punch, so that's pretty cool. And the Gyarados is, again, another support set over here. So that's another interesting Sand team. All right, then we look at some of the... oh, this is another one with Great Tusk and Tyranitar along with the other Rock-type Glimmora. So Glimmora also benefiting from the Sand here. Then you just have, like, Talonflame, you know, just to give Hyper Offense to the team with Tailwind. We ran Talonflame, Great Tusk, Tyranitar, you know, remember, in Regulation A. That was the team that we gave Philip Cohen. That one had Sylveon on it. So this one has Gholdengo and Iron Bundle on it. So that's a pretty cool team. All right, but I digress. Then now you take a look at some of the snow teams, the hail teams. This is Abomasnow providing Aurora. I don't even know if you can necessarily call this a hail team, or I should say snow team rather. Oh wait, no, there is an Iron Bundle there. What am I saying? I forgot to peep that there. But so you have the hail mode with Abomasnow, Iron Bundle, and then the Bronzong has done relatively well behind Snow. Remember, Wolf Click popularized that for a bit, and then other people tried it out and they realized it was really good because Bronzong just doesn't die behind screens, of course. All right, then again, another Trick Room kind of setup. And then a lot of these options are relatively slow, especially like your Ceruledge and your Tinglu. So that's also really nice. Then you get Tailwind on the team with redirection support with the Vivillon. So that's also cool. And Friend Guard is also an added bonus here because, you know, you're just able to redirect stuff and add bulk to your entire team along with screens. So what is dying here? Not a whole lot. So really, really creative snow team here from Tolareb. So shout outs to them. Then you have the standard one with Nick Navarre, again with Dragonite, Flutterman, King Gambit, and then the Snow Boys, you know, with Abomasnow and the Iron Bundle, and of course Great Tusk here, you know, another ground type that can click Earthquake next to a flying type, which is the Dragonite in this case, right? So those are the best ways to run Hail. It's either you're running Great Tusk Dragonite stuff with King Gambit, or you're running the Bronzong in the back. I feel like those are the solid, consistent snow teams at the moment, right? Despite the fact that, you know, Clover Snow is still doing relatively well with Salamence and Corviknight on the team. All right, then we go into the Sun team. So, you know, two types of Sun. Either it's Murkrow Sun, or you get the other Sun that Joe and 45 Mice and Santino popularized with the Jump Up Tailwind stuff. So again, that did relatively well here. Both of them are all in day 2. Again, with the Murkrow, you always start with the Fluttermane and Great Tusk anytime you want to do a Sunny Day kind of core. So this way they get enabled from the Sunny Day with Photosynthesis buff from both of them. But now you have Brute Bonnet here, another Photosynthesis mon that can do well. And under Tailwind, it outspeeds the entire format anyway, so you're able to do a lot of damage here with Seed Bomb, of course. And then you still get Spore Pressure, you still have Sucker Punch as well. So another little gimmick behind that. And of course, Chiyu just makes all of these other special attackers hit hard. Like Chiyu, Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, along with Murkrow, Great Tusk, that just hits way too hard. And then, you know, just having the Sunny Day just boost your Chiyu's damage, right? Because you're sacrificing some damage because you're Focus Sash. But if there is, in fact, Sunny Day, this Chiyu is going to do a lot of damage. And Sun teams overall can do not too bad, especially if Rain's going to be coming back. So now you have those classic Weather Wars. So, you know, go figure there. Again, we already know what Joe's team does. This is, again, his team. He pretty much just brought it again. I don't know if he made any, like, changes with EVs, but this is it. Then there was another kind of Sun team. It was the Trick Room Sun team that Hendes brought. Again, this one was Indeedee Hatterene stuff with Torkoal, and then the Iron Hands in the back. This was a Lilycolt team, especially, so no jump bluff here. But again, they were able to do relatively well with this team. And it just goes to show you that, like, again, Trick Room's not dead. You know, we've been saying, like, throughout Regulation C how Trick Room wasn't so good into a lot of these, you know, archetypes. But now, you know, how many teams did we show you had Trick Room on their team? So this was really, really nice to see. But again, it's also the fact that, you know, the call is a lot of teams are hyper aggressive with like Tailwind stuff with, you know, Talonflame or Murkrow. So then just having access to Trick Room on your team, not that you have any Trick Room sweepers, but you can flip the Tailwind upside their head. And that's really the main benefit of having Trick Room on some of these teams for that reason. But again, if you also have an Iron Hands and a Mungus, it also serves a dual purpose, right? But again, it's nice to see all 4 weathers do relatively well. And again, I didn't pull like every single weather. I just pulled like a couple sample sizes from, you know, within the first 128 options. So, you know, there's a few more out there. I didn't really take all of them, but hey, it's nice to see that they all did well. Another familiar core that did relatively well in the regional is this core of like Garchomp, Talonflame, and Gholdengo. But now, because of the Regulation C format, now you add Qianpao here. And we saw this a lot in day 2 cut, and especially some 6-3 teams that also featured this core of 4. And the whole idea is you take a familiar older core with Garchomp, Talonflame, and Gholdengo from like Regulation B formats or even Regulation A. And now you add Qianpao here with Terra Flying. And now you have 2 targets that you can Earthquake next to. And the whole idea now with Qianpao and Garchomp, especially if it's Terra Flying Qianpao, is you're able to do more damage with your Earthquake damage just because of Sordid Rune on the field, right? And of course, you already know what you're getting with Tailwind, Talonflame with Garchomp. Again, speed control, able to outspeed Fluttermanes and Chiyus, and then you're able to just click Earthquake against them, especially, you know, since you're next to Talonflame, you're a flying type, you're not affected by it. Gholdengo is also someone that benefits also from the Tailwind boost, so, you know, really, really nice to see there. And we saw this a lot. Like, let's take a look at how many times we can see this 4-man core over here from Hartford Regionals. So let's scroll up a little bit. Here's the top 8. So we see it right here from James Evans here. So instead, now he also adds the Iron Bundle and along with the Iron Hands here. So really cool. And again, it's Life Orb Chomp, right? So that's also really nice because now you're dealing so much more damage, and it is again right over here, Terraflying Chien-Pao here with Choice Specs, Gholdengo, and Icy Wind. You know, Iron Bundle, a very hyper aggressive team, and then you know with Fake Out support, you're just able to do a whole lot. Trick also, you know, just able to deter certain Tailwind stuff, Trick Room stuff, some setup plays. Trick is really nice in that regard if you can read it. Okay, if we go forward, we see the same kind of cores being used. So let's see if we can find another Garchomp kind of thing. Yep, here's another one from Matthew. So if Matthew, let's see if Matthew's is the same set. Yeah, it's pretty much still the same with Trick. But this is a clear Amulet Garchomp rather than a Life Orb Garchomp, so do note that. And then from there, this is not a Terraflying Chien-Pao, it is actually Terra Ice. So opting not to go for that, but still getting a little bit more damage with the Ice Burner. So again, to each their own. But again, still a familiar core here. If we keep going down, I think we can find more. Yep, here's another one from Pengy, you know, Stefan Mott. So did he do? So this one is the Flutter Mane here. But again, you still have Gholdengo, Garchomp, Talonflame, and Chien-Pao, but this is Flutter Mane, Mousehold. So Flutter Mane is Specs here, so is Mousehold. This is really good into, you know, Mousehold, Annihilate stuff, especially Choice Specs, Flutter Mane. And then, you know, this is Terra Fighting Chien-Pao. Okay, so a little bit more damage with Sacred Sword, and you know, you already know what you get with the other three. So you notice how like you still have like the same core but different sets that you want to run here. And this is like, again, Nasty Plat Leftovers Gholdengo. So let's see if we can find another one. I know there was at least a few. Yep, here's another one from Alessio. Again, Canadian VGC player. So this one again is Life Orb Garchomp. Terrafire Garchomp, again, I really like. It's great into, you know, Chi-Yu Flutter Mane matchups. I would not do another Terra on Garchomp at the moment. I feel like Terrafire is really nice. You can make the argument for Terra Steel, or even like Terra Fairy for that matter, just to resist other dragon types. But again, I feel like Terrafire is really good. Here's the Trick set, and other than that, here's the Amoonguss also. So really cool idea there. But again, if you're looking to try and build around Hyper Offense, you know, I would definitely start with this 4, just because it's really consistent into, you know, what's being present right now, and it's a really fun core. You know, who doesn't like using Garchomp along with, you know, Terraflying Chien-Pao? Garchomp is a cool mod, so it's a Cynthia favorite. You know, hopefully, you know, a lot more people start using more Garchomp rather than like Great Tusk. I feel like Great Tusk is still a good mod, but like in my opinion, I just like Garchomp just a little bit better. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, next thing I also want to look at is now there's an Iron Hand Swords Dance set that's been going around. Of course, it's nothing like new before, but I feel like in this region you really saw it, especially because you saw it a lot in Day 2 cut. So the whole idea is, you know, with Ting Lu able to provide Vessel of Ruin support with the Iron Hands. Again, because the Assault Vest is on the Ting Lu, you need some other item on the Iron Hands. So you might as well either just go like a Recovery Berry or Safety Goggles with Protect. And then you go with Swords Dance, you give up the Fake Out, and you just go with your Electric and Fighting Stab, whether it be Wild Charge or Thunder Punch. So if we just take a look, let's look at Wolf here, because Wolf Click also is a prime example of this. So this is like Iron Hands balance, if you want to call it like that, which we'll talk a little bit more about it later. So he actually goes with Leftovers, but still Protect here, and it is a Swords Dance set along with the Ting Lu here. So that's really good. Then if you look furthermore, where's the other, like there were 6 Iron Hands in the top cut, by the way, so just note that like the Iron Hands is in full swing. But did Ryan have it? No, Ryan on his rain team should not have it, I believe. Yeah, this one is Fake Out with the standard set here. I feel like Dominic, I think, definitely had it, right? So yeah, here's another one. Okay, so Instruct, Trick Room stuff, and then Iron Hands. Again, here's the Safety Goggles, here's the Swords Dance. You can really punish teams, especially like turn 1, where you can just like Swords Dance, then click Trick Room, and now you're just dealing so much damage with, you know, Thunder Punch / Wild Charge or Drain Punch here. Really nice kind of synergy there with Dominique. Then over here, if you look at Eric Stewart's team, Silver Broom, did he run it? I believe he did. Yep, this is another Safety Goggles Terra Fire Swords Dance. So again, different, more or less a little bit of variation, but again, same concept. You still have the same 6 as Wolf. It's this Iron Hands Ting Lu balance kind of team, so if you want to call it like that, sure. Sometimes you might see a dragon in one of these 2 slots, but in this case both are also relatively strong in general, so you can definitely consider that. But the whole idea with Swords Dance is you're able to just set up and do so much damage, and you don't even need to like fully invest into your attack. So like you could do maybe like right here Adamant 76, and then just like completely max out your SPDEF like this, and then just put the rest into something like, you know, into your bulk, like maybe just get this to 240 for example, and then just put the rest in defense like this, right? So again, you're just putting a little bit more bulk. Maybe you don't even run any attack and just put a little bit more in your HP or defensive bulk. So that's really up to you and up to the player spread. But I have seen this set like this before. So, you know, you're just able to put on more pressure with the Iron Hand. And the whole idea is with Swords Dance, you know, you think you might neuter its damage when you lead Arcanine and Gyarados. Well, first of all, don't lead a Gyarados into Iron Hands. But you might think you're in the clear if you lead something like an Intimidate mod into Iron Hands. But then if you just click Swords Dance, you're back to being +1, and now you're in the driver's seat yet again. So what is that Intimidate really doing? You know, not really a whole lot. So that's also really, really good, you know, in terms of having the Swords Dance here. So if you're looking to try some Iron Hands Tinglu teams, look no further than some of these balanced teams, especially from like Wolf, you know, with the Gyarados, Fluttermane, not Gyarados, Fluttermane, Gyarados, Chio, Amoonguss, Fire Water, Grass Core, and then just back it up with like these two big physical hitters, and then just slap on a Fluttermane because it's the best Pokemon in the format, right? So again, that's the whole idea behind this whole Iron Hands Tinglu balance team. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, and of course, I feel like with every region, we always have to evaluate where Dondozo does, and it's still, you know, up for debate. But again, Dondozo is still relatively good as long as the player piloting it knows their lines and knows their matchups, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, you don't need any skill to use Dondozo. In fact, you actually need more skill to use Dondozo than someone else. And let me tell you why you need more skill to really, really utilize Dondozo to its fullest potential, right? Just imagine this. Every single team is going to have some kind of counter or some way to deal with your Dondozo. So if you want to be able to beat these teams, you need to know how to manage those matchups, right? Which requires you to be really, really solid at using Dondozo Tatsugiri, all right? So I feel like only the best players can really, really shine with a Dondozo Tatsugiri. Otherwise, you just get countered by Clearsog, Amoonguss, you know, or some Skelligerd stuff, and then, you know, it just doesn't do well, right? And then like, oh, haha, I beat Dondozo. No, you know, the best players know how to use Dondozo to its fullest, all right? And I stand by that, okay? But what are the Dondozo teams doing now in terms of the current format? So they have 3 special attackers. Usually, they always like to use Glimmora. Then from here, it's like Iron Bundle along with a Chiyu, okay? And then they slap on some other last option, whether it be like a Dragonite here, it could be like a Fluttermane over here, it could be Scalper. But the idea is this is a very standard Dondozo 6 where you have Glimmora plus 2 special attackers, and then some Dragon type over here or some other filler slot to go along with it. And that's really the main idea behind Dondozo. We should do a team building video, you know, with Dondozo and these 3 special attackers plus a +1 filler here. So let's take a look at where we saw it. Let's close this. Let's go back into Hartford here. So luckily enough, again, you don't see any Dondozo here in the top 8. Tells you something, okay? Then over here, our first Dondozo that we run into is in 15th place from Ian. So this is exactly what we said. So instead of the Dragonite here, they just added another special attacker here. So this is Dondozo plus 4 special attackers. Choice specs, Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, Boost Energy, a lot of damage, a lot of speed control here with Icy Wind. And then it's Assault Vest Glimmora and a Chiyu Focus S. This is how I would do it if I had to do these 4, especially if it's Terra Grass, Terra Blast, Dondozo, you know, just like this. You know, Earthquake. This is like the perfect standard Dondozo team, all right? So if you want to use Dondozo in this format, just pick up this team, right? These sets, it's perfect, okay? This is exactly how I would do it, okay? Then if you move forward, here's a little bit more variance. Here's Riley's team. So still a similar idea, but there's a Corviknight here, but you still have the Sash Fluttermane. Oh, I see some of these names here. These are all like K-pop groups here. So you still have the Fluttermane here, not Fluttermane, the Chiyu, the Iron Bundle, and the Glimmora, okay? And then there's a Corviknight here with Iron Defense, Body Press stuff with Roost, okay? Then, if we look at another Ian, okay, this one is Scalper in that slot where with the other 3 special attackers. So, you know, again, like I mentioned, the variants. Let's look at one more just to, like, you know, keep things moving. But this is the best way to do it. Here's the Dragonite one. Here's from Matthew's side. So this Dragonite can be either Tailwind or it can be a Choice Band set. You know, just to deal a little bit more damage. But again, Sash Chiyu, Booster Bundle, Assault Vest Glamora. There's no Fluttermane here. Instead, we're going with the Dragonite for a little bit more physical offense. But this is the idea. You can kind of see, the skeleton of these Dondozo's teams still being relatively the same. Just a little bit of variance depending on how the player wants to use the team or how they want to be able to pilot it and what kind of options do they want to, match up for. All right, but again, Dondozo still doing relatively well, even at this point in the format. All right, so another regional has passed, and yeah, yet again, we've seen Orthworm still doing relatively well. It's a really cool mod, honestly. Like, you look at its stats and you see that, oh, it's just not so great, not super impressive besides that defense stat. But then, if you look at what it gets here in terms of its ability and some of the moves it gets, Earth Eater is really good. Again, when you're hit by a ground move, you get healed, so you just have immunity to Garchomp, Great Tusk, and Tinglu. So that's pretty cool in essence. Then you have Shed Tail, where you're just able to pivot and set up a sub and then just bring something else in that can, hide behind it and just deal big damage. Then you have the Iron Defense Body Press set. So you're just able to click a fighting move into all the ruined Pokemon and one-shot them. And then Heavy Slam is really good into stuff like, Fluttermane, Glamora. And also Body Press is really good into Tinglu. I'm sorry, not Tinglu. Well, it is good into Tinglu, but Iron Bundle is what I meant to say. Orthworm's great, man. So again, we've seen it here. So if we take a look at some of the results here, so James McGarity, again, with the only difference here is there is a Garganical instead of like the Gyarados stuff. But here, again, you have Earthquake Dragonite, you have Earthquake Tinglu. Again, just surrounding it by at least 2 Earthquake Pokemon just to be able to regain all that health here. And then can you imagine, Garganical or Fluttermane behind a Shed Tail? That's just like not fair. And then here's Bulldoze on the Garganical. So this is a really cool adaptation here with Garganical giving you speed control. Bulky speed control mons are always really nice. So super cool to see that here. This is the more standard one. This is the David Kutes stuff, I believe. But I feel like there's some variants here. But there is still Bulldoze Gyarados. There is still Dragonite, Earthquake, as well as Tinglu. And then no Terraflying Champel, that's okay. But again, Orthworm is still doing relatively well. And if you want to use an Earthworm team, again, definitely do it. It's really good into the format right now. And the fact that you just have all this immunity to ground types and you have a pin on the Fluttermane side is also really good. And then with the Terra Fire, you just can't really burn it. And, from there, things get a little bit more interesting in terms of trying to deal with it, especially after like Iron Defense, where you can only really hit it with a special attack. But other than that, that's why you have the Tinglu here. So this way you can reduce that damage that you would take and be able to still set up your Iron Defenses. So you're getting a lot of bulk on both sides here. So Orthworm with Intimidate and Tinglu is really, really good. Okay, next is, again, with this region, I did see like a lot of, Tailwind Hyper Offensive teams. And there's really a couple of ways to go about it. But the common ones that I did see was like either Talonflame or Murkrow stuff. So here's an example. Here's James's team with, with Garchomp, Talonflame, just again, putting on a bunch of pressure, especially with Chien-Pao here. Terraflying, you're just able to Earthquake next. So we talked about James's team earlier, so I won't go too much more depth into it. Then we look into Siddharth's team, and then another one where instead of Garchomp, you have a Great Tusk Talonflame kind of team surrounded by, friends. Again, here's the Gholdengo again with the Mousehold. So again, you're able to redirect, set up a nasty plot. If they kill the Mousehold, that's okay. Now you have a Talonflame coming in, clicking priority Tailwind with, you Gholdengo having a +2 nasty Make It Rain waiting incoming here, right? And of course, Great Tusk here with Life Orb is going to do a lot of damage next to Talonflame. So super excited here. And then also back Scalper with Assault Vest Earthquake is actually really, really interesting. I really like this, especially with Terra Poison, which really gives you some good immunity into like the Fluttermane stuff. I've seen some players use this, with Assault Vest Earthquake. We did it on Salamence, Dragon Dance Earthquake behind Snow Screen. So similar concept. I feel like a lot of dragons are very comfortable with running ground coverage. It's pretty needed. So I do like this from Siddharth, so shout outs to them. Then if you look at Nick's team, so this is the Murkrow stuff. With Tailwind Sunny Day, you always have the Great Tusk Fluttermane, and here is a Brute Bonnet for that matter, along with Chiyu. So this is again another hyper offensive team, starting with the Great Tusk Fluttermane core. Then if you look at Yan Chokli's team here, so this is still Murkrow, and it's still Sunny Day with like Great Tusk and Fluttermane, but now you have Dragonite and the Iron Bundle here, and this is just more speed control. Another Pokemon here that you can Earthquake next to. Again, I always like to say magic number is 2. make sure you have 2 Pokemon that you can Earthquake next to, whether it be a flying type or and/or a terrestrialization. So another way to really look at it here. But again, these Tailwind Hyper Offensive teams, you're gonna find them a lot on ladder. So just make sure you have something for them. And again, that's why on some of these teams you saw Trick Room as an option on them. Not that they're running a Trick Room team, but they're having a way to counter and flip those Tailwind teams upside their head. Okay. Okay, finally, I feel like we can't just end a regional video with talking without talking about how Wo-Chien did. And actually it did, you know, at least better than what it had previously done. So at least this time, you know, piloted by Kyle, Wo-Chien was able to crack the top 8 with the Wo-Chien team. And I believe this is the first regional where we had all 4 Rune Pokemon in the top 8 at least. So I've always liked this combination of like Wo-Chien Glimmora, right? We had a team like that. We gave it to our friend Fridge. He took it to Fort Wayne or one of the other regionals, and he got some CP out of that team. So that was really nice. Then you add this idea of Iron Hands, Fluttermane, and of course Chi-Yu here. So again, another, you know, 3 Pokemon that are meant to do a lot of damage. Okay, Fluttermane along with Chi-Yu is a very oppressive core. You can lead that core and just win games just like that. Especially if they're not prepared or if they lead wrong. You could even do like, you know, Glimmora Chi-Yu on switch in. Just do a bunch of damage with like, you know, Earth Powers and, you know, Power Gems. Toxic is also really, really punishing where, you know, you're just clicking poison after poison, you know, just chipping things away. I'm surprised there's no Hex on this Fluttermane here. But again, I don't really think you need it because there's no sleep or status condition besides poison. So, but other than that, it's a leftovers Wo-Chien set with Leech Seed, Pollen Pup, Protect, Foul Play. Relatively standard here. And it's more about like using the Wo-Chien to reduce attack against the, you know, Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, and the Glimmora, right? Because you're just reducing physical attacks. And, you know, a lot of these Pokemon, they don't really have great physical defense, except for the Iron Hands and maybe a little bit the Glimmora. So, you know, just using the Wo-Chien as support and maybe a sometimes an endgame option is really, really good. But then if you look at Justin's team, this is the kind of Wo-Chien team I like, you know, with Glimmora, Gyarados, and Volcarona. That's my favorite combination. Wo-Chien, Glimmora, Gyarados with Volcarona, especially like this, where you're just able to use the Volcarona as an offensive option here, and you're, you know, supporting the Volcarona with Gyarados and Wo-Chien. You're reducing physical damage and you're gaining special defense by just going for Quiver Dances. And now you're just not killable. You're just able to keep going for Heat Waves and Giga Drains, get recovery over time, and now all of a sudden the Volcarona is hard to remove. So I really, really like this way of trying to use, you know, this 6. If it were me, you know, I kind of like maybe Tailwind here on like maybe the Dragonite, just going for like Lumberry over here with Outrage still. But that's just me. Other than that, this is like the ideal 6. Now, the other thing you can consider with this Gyarados is what Mr. Juan Guzman is about to do here, which is an offensive set, you know, with this Wo-Chien, and it still has Volcarona and Fluttermane over here, kind of like what Justin had here. So the only difference now is an Iron Thorns, you know, which is really, really cool to see, especially it was on stream. So I want to do a separate video on Iron Thorns because I feel like it was a little overlooked in this format or underexplored. I don't think it's as bad as people made it out to be. I think it's still pretty bad, but I don't think it's like as bad as we make it to be. But I like the fact that this Gyarados is offensive, right? Because if you look at this team, you know, Wo-Chien's not dealing that much damage. You know, Screen Tail's not dealing that much damage. Your Fluttermane is Sash. So, you know, you don't have a Booster Energy, Choice Specs, Life Orb set. You're not dealing as much damage as you should. So you're going to need a little bit more. And, you know, Dragon Dance Gyarados can be that mod for you in this kind of team. So I was really nice. I was really glad to see this Gyarados be a little bit more of an offensive set over here. Then if we look at Yi-Wen's team, this is another unique Wo-Chien team. This one has Ting-Lu here, and we're putting screens. And then this has Toxapex, you know, just going for Baneful Bunker, Toxic stuff, Infestation, Recover. This is a very familiar old school VGC set. And it's really cool to see it top cut here. And I believe it also top cut the first regional in Regulation C. I did see a Toxapex there. I don't know if this is the same player, but I do remember it being from an Asian player. So this might be the same one. I'm not sure entirely. But Wo-Chien, 4 top cut placements out of 128 slots. I don't know if that's like great to you guys, but that's still not good. It still struggles. Amoonguss is still a factor. A lot of things have Terra Flying. You know, like Dragonite Terraflying just rips through it. Chien-Pao rips through it because of Ice Spinner, you know, just dropping physical defenses as well. Chi-Yu runs through it. Baxcalibur runs through it. A lot of meta mons just run through Wo-Chien, and it almost forces you to tear it to even have yourself a chance, right? And that's the whole struggle with Wo-Chien. And of course, it just doesn't deal as much damage. It's a very passive mon. You know, it relies on, you know, going for end games with Leech Seed, but you have to get to that end game, right? Because if you don't even get to that end game, then the Wo-Chien is almost essentially not good. So that's my 2 cents there. Let me know what you think of the stuff and topics we talked about in this regional. I also want to cover the Malmo regionals, which happened on the same day, so stay tuned for that video. But I feel like we hit all the major things here. Weather is still very, very good. All of 4 of them are good. This whole idea of this Ting-Lu Iron Hands balance team, a la, like, for example, over here, where's a good one here? Yeah, from Eric Stewart here, like as a primary example. I feel like this is still relatively strong. Oops, I clicked the wrong tab here. So let me just bring that up here. Yeah, like I said, I feel like this is the main takeaway I got out of this. Like, this team is still really good. Not necessarily like maybe some of these items or sets, but like this 6 overall. If you want to run your own sets, it's actually really, really good. So there's my 2 cents there. We saw what the typical Dondozo team looks like right now. Orthworm is still very, very strong. Rain is on the rise. I feel like Rain, after taking a backseat to the other 3 Reathers, is now probably, might be arguably the best one, but I feel like it's still Sun. But well, who's to see? Who's to say? Okay, that Garchomp core that we showed you earlier with Gholdengo and Talonflame, okay, is still really, really strong. And then I feel like from there, the hyper offensive teams just have a bit of an edge at the moment over the balanced teams. All right, so not to say that, of course, the balanced teams aren't good. I just feel like at the moment, they're able to deal a little bit more damage and overwhelm you, whereas balanced teams take a little bit longer to get going, right? It really all depends on the player at the end of the day, of course. All right, but that's all for now, folks. And again, if you're trying to, you know, build a team for these upcoming regionals or just online ranked ladder play or these tournaments, and you need help building a squad, feel free to check out coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub, if you click the link in the video description or in the comment section below, you're able to sign up with the tier 3 sub, and then we sit down in a one-on-one Discord call and I coach you through the team building process. I show you how to do EV spreads from scratch, and then from there we get you that team that you need to be able to go into an upcoming regional, which we've done for people before and gotten them some CP results. So that's always really, really nice anytime we can get our money's worth. All right, but that'll be it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out. Have a good night.